Welcome in another FFPC Weekly Preview Show. I'm Aidan, Liquorie, your host, joined as always, Dave Terp. Terp, we're going to kick it off. Yesterday, late at night, big breaking news. Christian McCaffrey has been traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a bevy of picks. Obviously, there's not much to talk about because you see the questions popping up, but there isn't too much to say about Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, Tyrion Davis. They're done. It's as long as McCaffrey's healthy, he's a guy. But I want to talk about the one question before we jump into our quick little segments is Christian McCaffrey's value. I'm going to ask you, does it increase, stay the same, decrease, or I'm going to even throw a fourth option, just decrease slightly? What are you predicting his values at?
I still think he's going to be a top 3 running back the rest of the way. I mean, I know a lot of people that are out there that are saying he's going to lose. They don't check down a lot. They don't throw the ball. They're running backs a lot. And that all makes sense, and that's all true. But they're not giving up all the stuff they gave up for him to be a highly, situational player. I still think he's going to get plenty of high leverage touches, on the goal line that he didn't get in Carolina. So I'm not worried about it as much as some people are. And he's still a top 3 running back, if not number 1 going forward.
I mean, no, it's a great fantasy trade. I mean, we were saying prior to hopping on live here, it's that we heard the rumors and we both kind of were like, oh, this could happen, but you never process it actually happening. I mean, probably for me, I was saying this in my lifetime, the biggest name ever traded midseason, I'd say.
The number 1 overall fantasy pick traded. You've never seen it before because it's never happened. So it's insane to actually sit here and say that, that news is real because number 1 fantasy pick never gets traded midseason.
Yeah, I mean, and it is nice he's going to a team with an offensive savvy coach, solid playmakers around him. The O-line has struggled a bit this year, but Trent Williams has been hurt. He's coming back somewhat soon in the coming weeks. So it is enticing. I think the big worry is, will he lose some of that receiving work? Flip side, though, is there's really 2 sides to the coin. Is, he might lose some of that receiving work. They have Debo, they have IU, Kittle. They don't dump down to the running backs as much, but there's going to be a lot more red zone opportunity and more efficient offense. So we'll see. I think it's going to be stay the same or maybe workload slightly decreases. I don't see him really elevating it because it's really hard to elevate that much more. The 2 teams that it was down to were Rams and Niners. Would you have preferred him Niners or Rams?
I still think I'm going Niners. I mean, Rams, it would have been a good fit, but man, I mean,
O-line concerns are there with the Rams.
O-line concerns are there. I mean, McVay loves throwing the football. Even Allen Robinson looks like he might be like coming back from the dead.
Don't say it. Don't say
I'm not there yet, but hopefully they start getting him a little more targets. And he scored a touchdown. This is exactly what you thought you were going to get from him this year. So I like to fit better with the 49ers.
Yeah, Allen Robinson and Elijah Moore, who in all our pre-draft stuff were my 2 guys. And Elijah Moore is...
Let's just... Elijah Moore and Rashad Bateman, some of my really good main event teams. I'm just staring at them like every week. It's especially this week, the worst bye week in fantasy football history, probably.
Like all the good teams.
All those guys, Bills, Eagles. I mean, you go down the list of just some of these starting lineups you're putting out there are dreck, complete dreck.
No, Robinson, Moore might be lost. Robinson may be showing faint signs. Of course, he's going to show those brief little signs, and people are going to be like, oh, maybe he's start worthy, and then he's just going to go back to being terrible. We'll see. But Terp, let's jump into our segments after a brief McCaffrey discussion. As we always start, friends don't let friends start. Player who's in the top 25 of their respective positional projected points for this week that you think is due for a disappointment.
A.J. Dillon is my pick this week. He's a guy that I was very high on to start the season. I really thought it would be like a thunder and lightning. I guess you could, the comparison with him and Aaron Jones. I haven't seen it. I mean, that offense is not good. One prediction we said last week on the show from myself, Jets would go into Lambeau and win that game. And they did it very convincingly. The Packers stink. I can see him losing this game again to Taylor Heineke with the Commanders. I just don't like what that offense has looked like. There's just so many like behind the scenes things you're hearing and talking and all this stuff. And A.J. Dillon is not a guy that catches the ball a lot. So if he's not getting, 15 to 20 touches a game, which he's not, it's just not a recipe for success. Even in a week like this, I feel like you could find better options like an Alec Pierce, guys like that I would start over AJ Dillon.
I mean, it's interesting. It's really the Packers as a whole, though, because you can talk about AJ Dillon not being what you expected. Aaron Jones is really his fantasy like average. His current ranking is all elevated by that game against the Bears when he had 30 plus points.
1000% has done
Besides
nothing.
that, I think maybe one double digit, and it was just over. So yeah,
Al Lazard has been their best player by a large margin.
And Lazard was the namesake of this segment was from your Friends Don't Let Friends Draft. Alan Lazard. It's just a little inside joke there. He hasn't been terrible.
He hasn't been. He hasn't like any monster weeks, but he's a fantasy starter. Nothing else I can really say about it.
The NFC is it's rough. Bad. Besides Eagles and now the Niners in terms of what you're expecting.
I mean, you still have the Bucks and the Rams lurking. They're still tough teams. I mean, but besides them, I mean, I don't buy the Giants. I think it's a great story. They're doing well, but like Giants just hang around. And that's the thing that scares you about teams like this. Teams like the Giants, like they just are around in every game. They don't quit. They play hard, and they find a way at the end of the game. The defensive coordinator is extremely carrying that team right now because the offense has been okay. And obviously you have Saquon Barkley, but nobody really on the outside. So
the Giants are a fun story, and I think they are. There hits a point where like, oh, they're a good team. It's not just a fluke run, but it's hard.
Team, but long term,
it's hard to come predicting playoffs, envisioning the playoffs, seeing them really going far. The other team there is like the Vikings are 5-1, but it's just hard to get what the Eagles did to them out of their head and just the limitations they have when you have Kirk at quarterback. So yeah, I mean, NFC's weird. Packers are certainly a disappointment. My friend don't let friends start. Top 10 quarterback play this week by projections. Matt Ryan. I know he had a good week last week. They're playing the Titans. Divisional game. Vrabel's defense always comes to play. This is more so not even. It's just Matt Ryan just isn't good. Like I know he threw the ball a ton, but as you said, Taylor's coming back. The O-line is rough. I think Ryan is going to have the occasional game where he does put up some good numbers for fantasy. I just think it's impossible to predict. I can't play him as a top. I just can't comfortably start him. I know the bye weeks make it tough, but I think there are some better options out there than Matt Ryan this week. It's going to be too inconsistent. I can't see two big weeks in a row from him. So that's my friend don't let friends start. Terp, 2 touchdown guarantee. I'll start with this one. Last week I went with Mike Evans. I thought that was the easiest layup imaginable, let alone.
I didn't see that disaster coming.
I mean, talk of just all-time bad Brady performance. Not in terms of him, his team. Like Brady, I did watch the game. Brady wasn't terrible. I mean that, but in terms of like going in expectations in recent memory, that's one of the most unexpected Brady losses, I guess, is what I'm trying to phrase. Just out against literally an entire backup secondary, and they just couldn't get anything going. It was the Ryan Suckup show.
It was tough to watch.
It was. My 2 touchdown guarantee, though, I'm going back to the well of just kind of maybe not a sleeper pick here, but I'm going Davante Adams. Right, he's wide receiver 5. It's not the craziest thing, but Derek Stingley struggled. That Texans secondary as a whole struggled. Davante Adams and Derek Carr linking up for touchdowns just left and right. It seems this whole season. He's the primary red zone target. Darren Waller's out again. Just feed me Davante Adams this week. He's, as I said, wide receiver 5. I'm surprised that wasn't higher in some of the projections from football guys, but I'm all in on Davante Adams. I think he has a massive week. 2 touchdown guarantee. Trying to get my first 2 touchdown guarantee. Still give me Davante Adams.
My guy is. I'm going to come back to this game later on for one of our questions, but CeeDee Lamb will be my 2 touchdown guarantee. We all know that the Lions defense is terrible. Dak coming back. I expect him coming scorched, just ready to just throw the ball around the field. I know people were thinking, oh, it could be a rushing game, a lot of Zeke, a lot of Pollard. His first game back, they try to ease him in. I don't see that. I just think he's coming back this week and he's putting up a monster performance. He's a guy that if you mostly he got cut early in the season when he got hurt. So he was a guy that on a main event team where I had Trey Lance, my new starting quarterback is Dak Prescott. So you just keep biding your time. Just got to always pay attention to what's on the waiver wire. And I really think CeeDee Lamb is that guy this week.
Yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb was my friend don't let friends start last week, and overall hit. It was just funny to me when
Yeah.
watching that game, and it was looking great. And then that last drive for the Cowboys, and he had like a 35-yard gain just over the middle. I was like, oh, that's tough. He did okay. Yeah, the Cowboys against the Lions. It's a great game for Dak to come back to against that defense. It's going to be interesting to see. As I said, another one of my guys. I'm monitoring Dalton Schultz big time because Cooper Rush they did nothing. Is there any last gas for Dalton Schultz
Nope,
with
he's
Dak come
done.
back? Y'all must have forgot Terp. I want a player outside of top 35 who you think's due for a big week.
We talked about this team a little bit ago with the Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson is my guy that's
Go
outside.
Cats.
I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan. We've talked about it early, when we were doing drafts. The kid's talented. 4 targets last week in his first game back. Scored a touchdown, 3 catches. I expect his role in the offense with nobody really around. Kadarius Toney still hamstrung and probably never will play. I think he takes the next step this week. And you saw what Matt Ryan just did against the Jaguars. So I expect Wan'Dale Robinson to put up 20 fantasy points this week.
Yeah, I mean Wan'Dale's. We know he's a talent. It's sometimes the Giants. We talked about their offense a bit earlier. It's someone's going to catch the ball. It's just a matter of figuring out who. That's why I honestly didn't go with him. Daniel Bellinger was a brief consideration there. Just a guy who's put up 4 targets, a couple of touchdowns in a couple of weeks. Maybe he keeps the trend going. I'm going with the tight end, and believe it or not, I'm going with a member of the Patriots who's playing in the Patriots Bears Monday night game.
Wow.
I'm going with Hunter Henry. Right? Hunter Henry's coming off a solid week last week. He's had 5 targets and 7 targets, respectively, the last couple of weeks. If we were doing a single touchdown guarantee, I would lock in Hunter Henry.
I like that, Nick. It's good.
Tight ends, it's crazy. The tweet went viral a couple weeks ago. It's they have the tight end position. If you don't have Andrews or Kelsey, you're sitting there like, yeah, I'll take my 6 points, and you're content with that.
I'm still going back to the tweet I made that went viral. George Kittle and Darren Waller versus Cole Kmet and Irv Smith. And let's just say all 4 have been dreadful.
Yep.
And I'm not that far off.
No, because Irv has gotten a couple of touchdowns. You chase touchdowns.
Like, if I can just get one of those 2 guys to just do something, Irv Smith is getting 9, 8, 10 points a week.
Yeah.
He might be the best at all of them right now.
You chase touchdowns. I just like Hunter Henry. Mac Jones is coming back. Obviously, it started off slow, but they had the connection last year. Hunter Henry seems like he's heating up. The Patriots offense, it was with Bailey Zappi, but starting to resemble some competence, like good. Ramondre Stevenson, obviously, I think is due for a bit of week, although Damian Harris is supposedly practicing. That could throw a wrench into things, but I think
that's a massive bummer there. I was hoping we got another week without.
Yeah, I think Patriots offense continues chugging along against the Bears. Give me Hunter Henry as you almost forgot, just a little sleeper for this week. Another one too, just I wanted to note, so I gave 2 last week. Brandon Ayuk, Jimmy G started off great. I mean, Ayuk hit, Jimmy G was off to a great start, and then he just tailed off. Is Kenyon Drake, just because J.K. Dobbins not practicing, he looked great against the Giants. The Ravens. They love to run the ball, as I said.
Forget about Gus Edwards.
Yeah, but Drake looked really good. Yeah.
If you got the roster spots on your team, store them because Kenyon Drake looked good, but I'm still not a believer in that.
Yeah, it's tough to believe in Kenyon Drake. I'm just saying, just as a guy, just to gauge.
On a week like today, on a week like this week, with the bye weeks being what they are, Kenyon Drake was probably the highest free agent thing. I'm pretty sure, according to Fantasy Mojo.
Mm-hmm.
He was the top free agent, the spend out there. So, I mean, you're starting him this week, but just if he goes out there and puts up 3 points, don't say I didn't tell you so.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it to true. You all must have forgot because, as you said, he was the biggest waiver pickup. The rumors. It's just more of a note. This Friday afternoon, we're recording this. Hopefully, posting this up by Friday night. Is Dobbins isn't practicing, so what's his name? And then, as always, Terp. Let's close it out. Your play of the week. Who you got?
We're going back to the Dallas game, but on the other side, Amon St. Brown, fully healthy. Pretty much Josh Reynolds might play. DJ Chark's not playing. Still have Hawkinson. Swift should be back. I expect that game to be the highest scoring game. I think it stands out as the highest scoring game on the whole board. Amon St. Brown was a monster before he got injured. I feel like even if the game flow is not working in his favor and Dallas is up, I mean, they're just going to feed him a ton of targets. I could see a 15 target game, 8 for 160, 2 TDs, just a monster effort from Amon St. Brown. So he is my very confident play of the week.
I'm going with T. Higgins, a guy who's been a play of the week before by you. I'm going to go with T. Higgins playing the Falcons. He was ankle set.
And so frustrating watching the Bengals offense.
He said his ankle last week was at 85%. He looked solid, got 10 targets last week, just didn't convert it into a ton of yards. It feels like Chase and him alternate big games. They're playing the Falcons. The Falcons secondary besides Terrell stinks. Jamar Chase obviously is going to get all the coverage. I think T. Higgins is due for a big week. He's practicing with no limitation this week. I think he is back to full health. T. Higgins is due. Dealt with the injuries and then a couple of mega weeks. Give me T. Higgins as a big boom this week. Chase is, as I said, Chase coming off the other one. T. Higgins is due.
I made a bold prediction last week with the Jets over the Packers. I'm going to try it again. Marcus Mariota, top 5 fantasy quarterback this week.
Really? I mean, the Falcons, what, 6-0 against the spread this year? I think it is. They find ways
they
to
don't win the game.
Games.
I don't care if they win the game. I think that game is another high scoring affair, and Marcus Mariota is a 25 fantasy point guy.
Hey, I mean, I feel like we started off really cold on this show. We've gotten hot as of late in terms of some of the predictions. Just we're still waiting on that 2 touchdown guarantee, which is way harder than I think when we kind of crafted this quick little show, like, oh, let's do 20 minutes, let's figure out segments. That was one of those when we were writing that up. I don't know why, but it's way harder than you realize. A lot of one touchdowns.
And a lot of 100 plus yards, but
yeah, because you got guys like Juwan Johnson scoring 2 touchdowns, and you're looking at like, why can't my guy do that?
Why don't we do this show yesterday? And I was like Juwan Johnson. People would have looked.
And then I clip that, throw it on the Twitter.
Arizona defense. That's my 2 touchdown prediction.
There we go. So that's going to do it for me and Terp. We're going to not do the quick hitters today. We're just going to roll out of there, end on our plays of the week. So Terp, as always, thank you for joining. Thank you to everyone for listening. That's going to do it for me and Terp, as I've already said. We'll be back next week for our Week 8 preview. Until then, like, subscribe. Feel free to comment on our picks. God knows people have been commenting on past ones when we don't do well. When we do well, I'd love some comments. But again, thank you to all who support, and we'll see you guys next week.